What's up, nerd family? Hey, Jeremy. Good to have you. You are first. I'm doing this all by myself, so hold on just a second. Let me get this camera set up here. Make sure you guys can hear me. Make sure you guys can see me. Welcome. We need to talk about some stuff, don't we? Just want to make sure that I'm in here. I got my laptop set, and I'm trying to make sure that I am on. Oops. My laptop kicked off, so I can't watch right now. So I'm going to have to, I think, reboot. It's crazy. Of course, right at the last second, right? That's how it works usually. You know, is you do something like this, and right at the last second, you get booted off. So I'm going to restart this real quick. Let's see if I can turn this around then for just a second so that I can see the comments. There we go. All right, we'll turn this back around when I get my computer rebooted so that I can actually watch the computer and do that. Hey guys, welcome. Who's in here? Let's see who's in here first of all. We got Jeremy, we got Bruce. Awesome. I'm glad Bruce is in here. Planet Musk Vlog. Good to see you. Welcome. Yeah, so this has been a story that's been out here now for a couple of days, and I just really wanted to talk about it because I did a video. I went Hollywood. Are you talking about my hair? So this is so funny, guys. And obviously not Star Wars related, right? But so I have naturally curly hair. I've had it all my life, and there's nothing I can do with it. It's curly. It is what it is. But Saturday night, Tiffany and I were talking because I have a younger sister who also has curly hair. And she used to always, you know, straighten it with an iron. And Tiffany, Tifftastic, has a straightening iron. And so I didn't think that it could get this straight. What's up, Speedo Kagan? And so we were just messing around. It was totally on a dare, and she did it. And it's super villain genius hair. It's kind of this rock star hair, man. I'm kind of digging it. Given the fact that I'm a musician and I've never straightened my hair before, it's interesting to me. I gotta admit, it's very interesting to me. And I don't know. I kind of dig it. I don't know. And it was funny because I went to church on Sunday, and you know everybody knows what I look like and stuff. And so I'm up in front of everyone, and working the young Obi-Wan. I like it. So I was going to get up Sunday morning and I was going to wet it down and put it back to curly. And I was like, you know what? Forget it. I'm just going to do this. And I did it. And I came to church. And here's the crazy thing was I did not expect the overwhelming outpouring of logging in there. I did not expect, I look more like Jesus now. General Kenobi, hello there. I did not expect the overwhelming outpouring of compliments that I got. I even got a compliment from Leslie, who is in my band, and I know I'm doing something if I get a compliment from Leslie. That's all I'll say, because Leslie and I just have a fun time with that, but and she's always giving me a hard time. So if I get a compliment from Leslie, I know I'm doing something. And yeah, just crazy stuff, right? And so, you know, it is what it is. And so I kept it today. I took a shower, but I left it dry, you know, because you know, us pretty people, you know, you don't shampoo every day because you don't want to, you know, mess up your hair. No, it's funny. I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about maybe, you know, doing this every once in a while and just having some fun. Does it give you superpowers? I don't know if it gives me superpowers, but I feel like it. I just feel, I don't know. This is kind of the hair that I always wanted to have, guys, growing up, given the fact that I was a kid with curly hair. And so, you know what? If that's the case, I guess. So I don't know. It's just something funny. And so I kept it today. and I thought that you guys might like to look to see it. So let me mute this here real quick. So I'm glad you guys like it. If you like it, hey man, I'm really glad because I'm having some fun with it. I like the looks, the stares that I've been getting, right? And so I like that. If you got it, flaunt it, bro. while you got it, right? I've been doing this whole thing, you know, I got the whole Farrah Fawcett thing. And the crazy thing is like, look how long it is, right? You guys watch the videos, you guys know. I mean, look how long it actually is. It's so funny. I didn't realize it was this long because it was so curly because it goes up tight. But anyways, so that's my funny thing. That was one of the things I was waiting to see who was going to start commenting. So I got my computer back up and going. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm jealous. My hair looks like a bunch of spiders are having a meeting on my head. Oh, Bruce, you're funny. You're funny, man. All right, I got my laptop back up here so that I can chat with you guys while having the camera around here in a good way. I guess it doesn't really matter. I was going to put it back the other way, but you know, this is fine. So I want to talk about this information that came out this week. You know, we talked about last week, I did a whole video on the fact that Palpatine was a clone. And a lot of you guys watched that video, responded to it. If you haven't watched that video, I do suggest that you watch that video because I put a lot into that video and it took a lot to get that video. I tried to upload that video several times and it was giving me a hard time. But other than that, I didn't understand why people were having such a hard time with the concept that Palpatine would be a clone in Rise of Skywalker. You all know I saw Rise of Skywalker. I had my own issues with Rise of Skywalker, but it's still a Star Wars movie, and I love Star Wars. Hashtag, I love Star Wars. Right? That's why we started that. And so, that being said, I didn't understand it. I saw these videos like bashing it and putting it down and talking about how it sucked and there's no way, and I emphasized that in the video with Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, that he said there's no way in hell that, first of all, I don't know what hell has to do anything with it. Looking like Jesus, I would say probably no, there's no way in hell that he was. But anyways, bad joke. So, you know, he just made this big emphasis on the fact that there's no way that Palpatine could have been a clone. And you are stupid if you buy that and you believe that it's all retro, it's all trying to fix what happened or whatever. And I guess I'm stupid. I guess, guys, I'm stupid because I watched the movie. I spent a couple minutes actually paying attention to dialogue, and I know some history. And here's the other thing is they've complained, these same people complain about over history that, you know, Kathleen Kennedy and Disney have tossed out all of the EU and none of it applies anymore. So the minute they bring something back, oh, they're just trying to retrofit it and it's horrible. So watch that other video for my take on that. Because I understand how Palpatine is a clone. He looks like a clone. He doesn't look like the same Palpatine that was in Return of the Jedi. He even talks about the fact that he died in Return of the Jedi. He mentions the fact that he died, that he had died. I mean, I don't know how much more you can get out of that than, I guess some people just want you to look at the camera and go, Palpatine, look at the camera and go, I am not the original Palpatine. I am a clone for all of you who are wondering out there. Now, Rey, you know, the only thing, I mean, you know, but when he said stuff like, you know, you're my granddaughter, that was kind of cringy, you know, the way he said it. So I'm not saying that it's a perfect movie. I'm not saying that it all makes sense. I'm just saying it is what it is. And I understood that he was a clone. Now, this new story came out because more information is coming out about Rise of Skywalker from the novelization that is getting ready to come out. And as much as I understand that Palpatine is a clone, and I don't have a problem with that, I don't really have a problem with this next thing, but I wanted us to talk about it a little bit. And I thought we'd do it in this format instead of just, because I wanted to get your input into this, because you guys are fans, you guys are Star Wars fans, and so I wanted your input as well to see what you guys are thinking, you know, to get my finger on the pulse of Star Wars fans out there who I think have a level head and aren't just going to prejudge everything and say everything is horrible. That being said, so this came out about the fact that the heretics, I'm looking at IGN right now. If you Google Palpatine's son was a clone, this will come up. So I'm just going to read this to you. It says, the passage pertaining to the revelation was posted on Reddit by a user who shared a photograph of the text, which reads. Now, obviously, the book hasn't even come out yet, but, you know, there's still leaks, right? And so we could probably understand that from this. So but it says, it goes on, this is what it reads. The heretics of the Sith Eternal, all those people who were in the stands, which I still don't understand were actual physical people, because why wouldn't they help? But that's one of my issues with the movie. The heretics of the Sith Eternal toiled, splicing genes, bolstering tissue, creating unnatural abominations in the hope that one of these strand casts would succeed and become a worthy receptacle. The heretics would do anything, risk anything, sacrifice anything to create a cradle for their God consciousness. So this is talking about what the Sith Eternal group was doing to try to clone Palpatine, that they would do anything to bring Palpatine back and put his consciousness back into a body. And it says that they made absolute unnatural abominations. I don't have a problem with any of that, because all of that, here's the thing, I don't understand why people complain that Disney supposedly got rid of all of the EU, which slowly they've been reintroducing stuff. I mean, we've got so much stuff now from the EU that it's been very positive. The only thing that I'm really missing right now out of the EU stuff that I just really want, I mean, Jason and Jaina were important in the EU, Han's kids, but also I miss Mara Jade. If there's one thing that there's a sore spot for me when it comes to Disney Star Wars, it's Mara Jade. I miss Mara Jade. I love Mara Jade. And the fact that she has not been introduced yet, and the fact that even if they introduce her, I don't know how they're going to say that she's Luke's wife unless they say that that was part of his depression, you know, was that he lost her. That bothers me. But this idea of them cloning and stuff, that's all. If you read Darth Plagueis, that book, this matches right up, where they were making unholy abominations, you know, unnatural abominations in the Sith Order to, you know, to raise up, to bring people back from the dead and all those things, and to keep them alive, because that was the whole Sith mentality. So I don't have a problem with that, and I don't understand why people would have a problem with that if you know Star Wars. But this goes back to the point that I kept replaying over in the last video that I did of where I featured Jeremy and all that. They don't have an understanding of the EU. Jeremy has no understanding of the EU. He doesn't understand what it is, apparently. He's not read everything. He's not up on everything. All he's going on is he just wants to watch a movie, and that's it. And that's great. And the Star Wars movies, if you watch them, you can just watch them on the surface. But don't act like you're some deep Star Wars fan who knows all this stuff about, you're going to go on about canon and lore and all this stuff, and you never took the time to even read the stuff. Because I did. I was there. Is that you, Jeremy? I don't know. I don't know what Jeremy's real name is. So is that you? I don't know. We get so many people. We get, I don't know, man. I get so many people messaging me all the time. I've actually had people try to message me as Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers. All right, so that's why I just never know. And we do have a guy on here, Soy-Based Jeremy, who's really great. He will always point out that he's not Jeremy, but his picture is that. So I just wanted to make sure, because hey, if we ever had that, I would love to have that discussion. I would love to have a discussion with Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, because I just see that, like, if you're going to comment on something, right? If you're gonna talk about it, you got to know about it. You can't just have a channel. And this is where I have a problem sometimes with some of these people that I watch. Like, look, my channel's got like almost 9,000 subscribers. We are like this tiny, right? I am not, we're not, you know, on, as far as the YouTube spectrum, we're not, you know, Geeks and Gamers big, you know, over 100,000 subscribers. Would we love to be there? Yeah. And I appreciate everyone who ever says, man, I wish you guys had more subscribers. We're doing what we can, you know, we're just going to do stuff like this. We're going to keep giving people stuff like this and keep pressing away. But the thing is I noticed that, like, all these people, thank you, Bruce. I appreciate that, man. I just don't understand these people who have these large channels And apparently they're so large that they just don't have the time to research anything. You're right, that they don't have the time to actually read books, read comics, understand characters, understand what's going on. Because if you watched The Last, or not The Last Jedi, that's a whole other story. If you watched The Force Awakens, see, I'm coffee. This is all I've had today. If you watched The Rise of Skywalker and you didn't understand within the first 10 minutes that Palpatine was a clone, I don't know what to tell you. It's pretty obvious. And they mention it even, like I said, in the story about it. Now, because the one guy, he even mentions, you know, because they ask, how did he come back? Through cloning and Sith occultism, stuff like that, right? So it's actually presented. It is actually said in the movie. So I don't understand why this is such a controversy now. This shouldn't be a controversy after the fact, given the fact that they said it in the movie, and Palpatine even said that he died, right? But now we come to the book, and now you can flesh those things out, and you should. It's in the novelization. Okay, so the heretics would do anything to keep their master alive. It says, but nothing worked. But their efforts were not entirely in vain, for one genetic strand cast lived, thrived even, a not quite identical clone, his son. And I think they're going down the route of Boba Fett, you know, with Jango Fett, that, you know, he basically raised him as his son. So his son, but he was a useless, powerless failure. Palpatine could not even bear to look upon such disappointing ordinariness. That's a word, isn't it? The boy's only worth would lay in continuing the bloodline through more natural means. So here Palpatine has a son that is actually his clone, but is not Force sensitive. And Palpatine doesn't have any use for him. Palpatine does not want to even look upon him because he just sees him as ordinary. He sees him as somebody who will never accomplish anything, and it just looks down on his son, this clone. This clone that thrived but is not Force sensitive, was not quite identical, you know, so just off enough. And but he was a useless, powerless failure, it says. But he would be able to continue the bloodline, right? He would be able to continue Palpatine's bloodline, but just by a more natural means. So that's where we come to, and that's where we're going to begin this discussion. Rey is the child of this clone. So I'll start off by saying, if it was me, if I had written this, I would rather that Rey had been the clone. It would have made a little bit more sense with the Last Jedi and the whole Echo thing, where, you know, she moves and it moves behind her and all that stuff. It would have made a lot more sense the way that they presented her. But am I the only one that just doesn't have a problem with this? It's okay to me that Palpatine, it's actually better for me, to be honest with you, because I don't like to think about Palpatine getting it on. There's been a lot of jokes about that ever since we found out that Rey was Palpatine's granddaughter. So there's been a lot of jokes about, well, you know, who's the mother? How did Palpatine, you know, who's the grandmother? How did Palpatine have a child? This would make a whole lot more sense, wouldn't it? Because it doesn't seem to me that Palpatine, the Emperor, Darth Sidious, would be the type of person who would have any kind of attachments like that, who would even have need for attachments like that, and would be more focused on his ruling of absolute power. You know, there's some things that, like, if somebody actually like that existed, I don't think that he would have like a wife. You know, I don't think that he would have somebody like that he would take in as his own wife and as like a companion. If anything, and I know that they probably don't want to get into something like this in Star Wars, but if somebody's like a dictator and an emperor that is in charge like that, more likely he would have a harem, or he would take women by force. That's just the point of that. And that would be how that would happen. So I'm glad that they didn't go down that route, because we don't need that in Star Wars. We don't need that level of realism. So it makes sense to me that Palpatine's son would be a clone, and that he would be the normal one who would branch out. And we saw that a little bit in the movie. I can't wait till the movie comes out on Blu-ray, because then I can kind of dissect it a little bit more than just sitting there in the theater. You know, I can pause it, I can rewatch things, I can catch things that maybe I didn't catch before. But that's kind of what we see there, is Palpatine's son was an outcast, was a good guy that his dad just really had no use for. And he ended up having Rey and tried to protect Rey from her grandfather. That makes a lot of sense to me. I don't understand the negativity about it. Now I want to go to some of you guys' comments here. Obviously, Jeremy said, yes, I do. Yes, I do. I do have an understanding, and I appreciate that, Jeremy. Speedo Kagan says, when I saw the beginning of the movie, I was like, oh, Palpatine is a clone. But the more I saw the movie, the more I forgot he was a clone. Well, because he kind of took over that persona, right? Like, it wasn't, I don't think that that's like the important part of that character, do you? I mean, you could tell me that's what this is. It's a discussion. I didn't think that like that was really central to what I needed to know at that time. Like at the first was like, oh, he's a clone. Okay. And the whole point was like, then he wanted to put his essence into, he was kind of reserved that he was going to die, you know, there for a minute. And so he wanted Rey to have that power and wanted them to take that. But then once he realized he could live on, he wanted to transfer his essence into Rey, which is a little strange. I mean, to be honest with you, because like the title of this video says, it's kind of like the whole, you know, daddy Grandpatine thing there, you know, Grandpa Palpatine. He decided he wanted to take over her body then, because he could live on in her. So you got to remember, everything Palpatine does is self-serving. He doesn't care about anybody. You know, even if you read the books and you read things, you'll see that the reason why he put Darth Vader in the suit that he put Darth Vader in was because he wanted to torture Vader on a daily basis. All right, Bruce. Thanks, man. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it, man. I know they're doing these in the afternoon. I'm going to lose some people, but hopefully people can watch it on the way back. Okay, Planet Musk. I see you. So let's see, what else do we have here? Bruce says, I haven't read anything either. I'm just asking for the movie ride, so I keep my mouth shut. That you know, that's fine, Bruce. You know, but I think we all, you know, just take the opportunity to learn something, you know, new. But I love the fact that, like, at least you're not hating on it. You know, like if you don't know it, that's fine. But like if you were to start a channel and like start to like talk about Star Wars, like some of these people do, and they don't know anything about Star Wars, I think that if you're going to have a channel that's dedicated to especially dissing Star Wars, right? You need to have a pretty good reason to do that. Planet Musk says, how it should have ended had Palps directing the Sith Eternal like a church choir. I know, I love that. I love how it should have ended. Those guys are just awesome. I love all of their videos. They just do a great job. The Luke Skywalker in Dark Empire was powerful, and his dynamic with the Palpatine clone was awesome. Disney should have just made that. You know, so that's fine, and that's a good argument because, yeah, Dark Empire was great. I honestly think, man, you know, after seeing the backlash towards The Last Jedi, I think that if they would have like tried to do something like that, people would have hated it. Those of us who read it would have liked it. We would have accepted it. But if people had such a hard time with there being anyone who, you know, they had a hard time with Luke just turning himself off from the Force. Can you imagine if he full on went to the dark side? Because everybody's argument has been that, you know, they've ruined Luke Skywalker because he wasn't super powerful and heroic like he was when he was a kid. So don't you think that if they did that and made Luke, you know, turn to the dark side and brought Palpatine back and did all those things, that people would have revolted about that? and said, oh, you know, you're undoing what happened in Return of the Jedi. You're just trying to do your own thing with Disney, blah, 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 because that's what they're saying now about everything. I just really think that people don't know what they want, you know, when it comes to that. Let's see here. Is there anything else there? Yeah, I mean, and I'll be the first to say, Planet Musk blog, that I think there's a lot of things Disney could have done better. I wish they had planned things out better. I wish that it would have had more connection to those things that I love about Star Wars, you know. But in the end, I kind of had to accept it for what it was. And that's all we can really do. We can only watch what we're presented and process that, really. So I wish that they would have done a lot of different things. I wish that they would have kept a lot of the EU intact, you know. But I understand also that when you're telling a story that picks up 30 years later, it's kind of hard to do when you're trying to introduce the regular crowd, because the normal people who out there who never read any of those books, I know a lot of people who don't even know what, you know, something like Dark Empire is, and they don't know what the Timothy Zahn books are, so they don't know about Mara, they don't know about Thrawn, they don't know about all those characters. And given that, when you try to talk to them about that kind of stuff, they go, oh, well, I had no idea. All they know is what they're presented. So if you started off, you know, The Force Awakens, and you got a Luke Skywalker who's got a wife, and you have no backstory to that, and, you know, now I understand the argument can be made that there's a lot of things that are presented that don't have any backstory yet, and we got to wait and stuff like that. So I don't know. You know, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if they could have pulled that off to go ahead and into an EU that has Han and Leia, because by then they'd be adult kids, Jason and Jaina, you know. And those of us who read those books, we'd be like, yeah, this is awesome, right? That's the Star Wars I knew. But we have to also remember that even George Lucas said that those were never canon. Those were never his ideas of where the story would have gone, even though they were awesome and we loved them. And I do, man. I love, love, love the Timothy Zahn trilogy. I love those books that came out. I love the Jedi Academy trilogy by Kevin Anderson. Man, phenomenal, phenomenal. Telling how Luke started the Jedi Academy and introduced Exar Kun, the Sith Lord. Just great stuff there. I think that has a better interpretation of the Kessel Run than what we saw in Solo. You know, but it's not there anymore. All right. Let's see, who else is talking here? I think I saw Caleb. There's Caleb. He says, I was fine with the book saying he's technically his father genetically speaking. If he raised the failed clone of himself as his son, he would probably view Rey as his granddaughter. Yeah, and that's what it looks like, is that, you know, he kept him on publicly, because that's what Palpatine was all about. Palpatine had a public persona, and he had a private persona. His private persona, he was obviously Dark Lord of the Sith. He was, you know, he was doing a lot of things that were not cool. But publicly, people had empathy with him. Even when he had his scars, that's why he allowed himself to be scarred like that, is that he gained sympathy to be able to continue the war, right? To be able to do the things that he wanted to do and put the Jedi down and make the Jedi look bad. And that was the thing. He's very deceptive. Very deceptive. So yes, he would keep the failed clone to raise as his son because he was healthy, right? And he would be a normal person. But privately, he shunned him, and his son knew what he was all about. Yeah, no, I get it. Genetically speaking, of course. Planet Musk says, I guess I loved it. Yeah, maybe, he says, I guess I loved it because it in the 90s, because it wasn't canon. Yeah, they were stories, right? You know, they were stories. And as far as I was concerned, it was canon. Even though I knew, you know, and I'd read these articles with George Lucas that would say, yeah, you know, I approved the books to be made because people want more Star Wars stories, but it's not canon. And I would go, yeah, that's fine, but for me, it's canon, you know? And obviously, if you read any comic books back then, you knew that those things weren't canon. Nowadays, everything that comes out is considered canon. Books, comic books, whatever, it's all canon. So, you know, that can be good, but I think that shoots themselves in the foot on a few things, because some things come out that don't make a lot of sense sometimes, and some things just take a while. That's another thing. Let's talk about that for a second. Why is it that like the second something comes out, they got to jump on it and say the bad things about it when sometimes things take a little while to present themselves? You know, stories, if you watch a movie, they're not going to give away the ending at the beginning of the movie, hopefully, because that won't be a very good ride. That won't be a good movie. Things are presented sometimes and you got to see how they get there. And we all want everything right now. It's like wanting to binge a TV show in one day. I love it, but reality says, man, you know, it's kind of nice coming back to it every week and being able to talk about that one episode for a week with all my friends and have that fun instead of binging it all by myself in one day and then going, hey, man, it's done. You know, got a whole season done. So let's see here. Who is next? Speedo Kagan says, have you seen the interview with Ian McDermott talking about Palpatine was a clone? I have not. I have not seen that. But you know what? I have my laptop here. We could. I don't know how long it is. Can you send me a link, maybe here in the chat room, and I'll definitely take a look at that because I would like to hear about that. I think I saw that there was one, but I have not seen that yet. Johnny Spainer says, not a big fan of The Last Jedi, but I love The Rise of Skywalker. I always hoped that they bring Palpatine back. Yeah, you know, like I'm not saying that they set it up the perfect way. Trust me, I'm not saying that they set it up the perfect way. But I'm glad they brought Palpatine back too because it shows over the 9 movies that Palpatine is that instigator. And I like that. Just bringing him in at the end kind of as an afterthought, like just kind of presenting him in the crawl as Palpatine's back, I don't necessarily agree with that because I think that you got to have some kind of setup to that, you know, and just the fact that they're just like, oh, he's back, the dead speak, it is what it is. I think it takes some of that wow factor out of it, you know, where you go, oh my gosh, Palpatine's back, holy cow, right? But I'm glad that they brought him back because I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense for the overall story of all 9 movies. Just wish that they had set it up a little bit better. That's all. Caleb says, I hope we get an extended cut of the film, maybe on Disney Plus. That would be cool because it seems like there's a lot of stuff that we're not seeing. Planet Must says, Cobra Kai did it best in my opinion. Speedo Kagan says, Ian McDermott mentioned that he had a line at the beginning of the movie when talking to Kylo Ren, more than a clone, less than a man, but they cut it out. Yeah, right. And like I said, even in there, he mentions the fact that he died. So he does mention the fact that he died, and that's like this idea that, look, filmmakers are not perfect. J.J. Abrams is not perfect. J.J. Abrams has made a ton of mistakes as a filmmaker, but I like J.J. Abrams. I like his movies, and I personally like The Last Jedi. You guys know that. You know, everybody doesn't have to. But, excuse me, this idea of sitting back out here in YouTube land, in our YouTube bubble, and looking at everybody, all these filmmakers and producers and all these people and acting like they're just stupid. That's what I have a problem with. That's armchair quarterbacking. That's me looking at, you know, somebody like Tom Brady, right? And Tom Brady's in the Super Bowl, and you know, if things aren't going that well or whatever, that's me sitting back here going, oh yeah, he should have been doing this. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's having a bad day because he's doing this, and this, and this. That's really easy to do because you don't have to back it up, right? You don't have to put any kind of anything to it. You can just yell at something, right? You can just hate on it, tell everybody it sucks, and you don't ever have to back it up. You don't ever have to put anything with that and ever mention why you feel that way. I mean, you can mention why you feel that way, but you don't have to go out there and play the game, right? You don't have to go out there and be in Tom Brady's shoes. So it's really easy for us to all sit back and look at Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio and everybody else and say, man, they messed this up. They don't know what they're doing, blah, blah, blah. I don't think that they went into this thing trying to screw up Star Wars. I just don't. I think that they went in trying to do the best that they could, and it's imperfect. And that's okay, because Star Wars is imperfect. I know a lot of people don't want to admit that. I have a lot of friends that don't want to admit that the original trilogy is imperfect. But it is. It just is. It's not perfect, but that's what I love about it, right? With all of its mistakes, with all of its quips and its quirks and its whatever, it's still fun to watch. And I love it. And even the prequels, when I watch the prequels sometimes, and there's cringy stuff in the prequels, and there's bad CGI, and there's all this stuff, you know, sometimes, and you just look at it and go, hey, it's Star Wars. It is what it is, you know? When you were a kid, if you were a kid like me and you were able to watch Droids, right, on a Saturday morning, it was Star Wars. You know, it's no longer canon, but it was Star Wars, right? So what's up, Arctic Conquest? Welcome, man. All right, so we got a couple more comments here. So we just heard about the Ian McDermott quote, that he had a quote in there about being a clone. Caleb says, I did think it was kind of stupid that they retconned the Rey-Ben kiss to be a kiss of gratitude. That doesn't happen. Hey, Sarah, where's my keys? On the counter. Thanks. Hey, Bone. Yeah. That, that's stupid. I don't have anything for that. Anybody who says that I'm just like a Star Wars apologist and I'll just defend anything, no, there's my line, I guess. No, I've never done anything for somebody and they were just like, I am so appreciative, Enash. I'm so appreciative. Come here. I want to stick my tongue down your throat. That does not happen. That is something, I don't know, it happens in movies. It happens in certain kinds of movies. If you order pizza or you get a plumber, I guess. No, that was not a kiss of gratitude. I saw another thing where he tried to say that it was more like a brotherly, sisterly kiss. I've got two sisters, and you know what? We did grow up kissing each other. We had a very affectionate family, and it was not a big deal, but we weren't like in each other's mouths, you know, just a little love you. You know, I kiss my grandma still, and that's fine. And there's a kiss of gratitude. There is a kiss of gratitude, I guess. There's a kiss of just familial love, friendship, you know, whatever. Like, I don't kiss my friends, though. I'll be honest with you. I don't kiss my friends. There's that one time. But no, I don't usually kiss my friends. That kiss between Rey and Ben, no. That was not a family kiss. That was not a thank you so much for being there for me kiss. That was a kiss of, hey, I am sexually attracted to you, and so therefore I want to touch mouths with you in a deep and meaningful way. Can we just agree to that? All right. I like how you put it though, Caleb. Hey, Sarah, where's my keys? On the counter. Thanks. It's on. It's on. Speedo Kagan says that interview is 35 minutes. I will check that out, Speedo Kagan. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I will definitely check it out because I am definitely interested in that for sure. Speedo Kagan says the scene at the beginning says Kylo Ren, you are a clone. Palpatine, more than a clone, less than a man. I believe it. I believe it, but you can't tell Jeremy that. You can't tell Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers that. No, oh heck no. You're stupid. You're stupid if you believe Ian McDermott. Because Ian McDermott has every reason to lie to you and to deceive you, and it's a whole conspiracy theory to try to make Star Wars be good. That's what it is. That's what it is. So even when they do something right, it's still wrong. Do you see how that makes no sense? That just doesn't make sense. And the fact that he's a kid, that he has a kid that is a clone, makes sense, right? I mean, it makes sense that they were cloning these kids. Obviously, they had the cloning cylinders that showed Snoke. I want more information on that, but that's stuff that can come later down the line. You know, I think everybody put way too much emphasis on Snoke, more emphasis than the movies even put on Snoke, that Snoke was this all-powerful main figure. And it was always said from the beginning that they weren't Sith, that they weren't, you know, all this stuff or whatever, because Palpatine was working in the background, because that's what Palpatine does. He is the Phantom Menace. That is who Palpatine is. So, I don't know. That's what it is. Let's see. Caleb says, I guess they were alluding to the Luke Leia peck on the cheek for luck and the Anakin Padme peck on the cheek in the arena in Attack of the Clones. Those, I can see as friendship stuff. That kiss that that Leia lays on Luke on Hoth, no, that's her trying to make a point. That's not a friendship kiss. I mean, if it's not a friendship kiss, he doesn't go, oh, yeah. All right? I've never been kissed by a girl that it was just like a little, and I was like, yeah, there's something there. And look at Han Solo and try to make Han Solo jealous. That's what she was trying to do. It was definitely a romantic style kiss. You know, it was, yeah, it was what it was. Wasn't the greatest kiss in the world, but, you know, it was what it was. And then what about when Padme looks at Anakin and says, I deeply, truly, with all my heart, love you. And she kisses him before they go into the arena, right? That's a kiss. That's a romantic kiss. There's a difference. There definitely is a difference. Speedo Kagan says, I totally love The Rise of Skywalker. Best movie 2019 in my opinion. We did our 2019 movie reviews, and you know what? It wasn't my top movie of the year for 2019, but I still liked it. I still think it's okay. The first time I saw it, I was a little upset because it triggered something in me because of my love for The Last Jedi. And that's fine. But I don't hate it. And you know what? I went to go see it again, and I was like, I kind of, you know what? Yeah, this is better the second time than it was the first time for me. But, you know, it is what it is. You're not going to like everything that you ever see in a Star Wars movie. You're not going to agree with everything you ever see in a Star Wars movie, right? It just, it's how it is. There's no other point to that. It is how it is. So I'm going to skip down here because I saw a couple things. Yova Rods, hello and welcome. Good to have you here, for sure. Gavin, I'm going to point out Gavin's thing. Yo, hi, mate. I will see you tomorrow for Flash, and I am now fully caught up. Yeah. High five, bro. Gavin is in the UK, and we got him hooked up with a VPN. We talked to him about getting a VPN, and now he's all caught up on the Flash, and that's awesome, man. I'm glad that you're able to watch it with us now and enjoy it like that. All right, so let's see. Let's go back here to some comments. Arctic Conquest, that's my buddy. He said hiya. Planet Musk says, your reminder that Palpatine is the Phantom Menace was on point. Thank you. Thank you. And that's the point, right? Palpatine is like the evil version of Batman. He's got a contingency plan. He's going to do everything he possibly can to protect himself. So why is it so hard to believe that he would have people in his court looking to save his life, right? And looking to keep him preserved and all those things. And honestly, if you look at the end of Return of the Jedi, what does that explosion make any sense when they throw him down the shaft there and you know, Vader throws him down the shaft and he blows up? That doesn't make any sense if that's not his spirit, if that's not his Force essence leaving him. Why would that blow up? What was blowing up? I mean, it's not like the ship was blowing up after that. It's not like it continued to blow up like mechanics were blowing up or like he hit something down there that blew up. It was like one big rush of explosion and rush of energy, and then it was done. That was not the Death Star blowing up. That happened afterwards. So it makes sense that Palpatine's essence would leave, and it makes sense that, you know what, it makes sense that he would not have a son in a natural way, that he would have a son via cloning, and that son, it's a great story to me. I want to know more now about the son. I want to know more about Rey's parents and how they fought against, like kind of in the shadows in the background with Palpatine and how Palpatine rejected his son. I love this idea. I love the fact that Palpatine would have a son that recognized his dad was who he was and for what he was and wanted to get out from underneath that and wanted to kind of undermine that and save his own daughter, Palpatine's granddaughter, Rey, from having to be involved in that because she may be force sensitive, you know, because she probably exhibited some force abilities at a young age. And so therefore, yes, they would want to protect her because they understood and knew Palpatine had a plan and a scheme because his son was not force sensitive, and so he rejected him for that. So the minute that they would see that Rey would have some kind of force ability, you'd want to protect her. That's what you would want to do as a father. I want to know the story of Palpatine's son. I want to know how he dealt with that stuff. I want to know where he went with that and how he reacted to that, to having a dad who literally had a contingency plan to stay alive forever via clone. That's what I want to know. I think that's a tremendous story. I don't know how you could not want to know more about that. I want to read that book. Look, I don't usually read, you know, the written versions of movies. You know, I've got a copy of The Empire Strikes Back. I think I have a copy of the Phantom Menace somewhere. And actually I have a copy of Star Wars as well. I read excerpts of it, but I haven't read the whole thing. I actually want to read The Rise of Skywalker now because I want to know more about this stuff. It actually intrigues me for sure. All right. Caleb says, I do still think Duel of the Fates would have been a better title. The Rise of Skywalker makes more sense, but Duel of the Fates perfection, a perfect encapsulation of Star Wars in one title. I can agree with that. I don't understand. I don't think the Rise of Skywalker title really encapsulates what that movie's about. I made a little noise there. You probably picked it up on the mic. Because Rey saying that she's a Skywalker to me is a one-off line. You know, that's not what that whole movie is about. That whole movie is about the Duel of the Fates, right? And I think that would have been a perfect, like you said, Caleb, encapsulation from the Phantom Menace with Palpatine starting this whole thing to the very end with his granddaughter ending it. The Phantom Menace, Duel of the Fates, and especially that the music from the first one was called Duel of the Fates. I love that idea. Yova Rod says, you think Palpatine is also Rey's father, besides being her grandfather, because of being a clone and her father being a failed clone? Well, I mean, not directly. Not directly, right? But it is kind of, it's almost like a, it's a weird thing that you got Palpatine, you got his clone, so in essence him. Also, I mean, you know, in a way, it's his genetic makeup, also being the father of Rey. So it's kind of a weird, I don't know. And you have the fact that Palpatine wanted to put his essence in his son, but he couldn't because he wasn't force sensitive. So obviously, if you're going to clone yourself and put yourself into a body like that as a force sensitive person, you have to put it into a force sensitive person, or you do not have the force. I guess that's how that works, right? I mean, wouldn't that be how that works now? So that's why he wanted to do it with Rey at the end. But it's a little strange. You know, I'm not saying that he's directly her dad as well, but in a roundabout way, he is. You know, because it's his clone. It's just a strange thing. It's one of those nuances, right? It's definitely Star Wars, because I mean, you look at Luke and Leia, even, you know, being twins yet still somehow coming together. You know, like they come together and then they kind of have a thing for each other, and they definitely had a thing for each other in the first movie before they decided to make them siblings. That was not always the plan, to make them siblings. I don't care what you hear. I have a friend that I've argued this up and down with, left and right. It has been said, it has been proven over and over and over again that when George Lucas first did this thing, he did not plan on them being siblings. Okay? He just didn't. That's why there's a love triangle in the first Star Wars movie, in A New Hope. That's why it's there. Anything else is trying to retro stuff and trying to make stuff be that wasn't, you know, whatever. I got a friend, I love him, he's a great guy, but he believes that, oh, it was always there. George had a whole complete plan from the very beginning. George had an outline. He did not have all the particulars put into place, which also goes to talk about all the people who complain about the sequel trilogy not having everything in place. I don't think that everything had to be in place. Better outline? Yes. better outline because George did have an outline for what he wanted to do. But some of those particulars, I mean, Vader wasn't even Luke's dad at the beginning. So there you have it. He was not even Luke's dad. George decided that with the people who wrote Empire later. So, you know, I don't know what to say. That's that. Let's see here. Moving right along. Yova Rods. I think it's Rods, or is it Yova Rhodes? I'm guessing Rods. It says VPN. Thumbs up. Yova says, likewise, man. Good to be here. Always glad to have you. Always glad to have everyone. Sitting here in the background listening. Very interesting stuff. Thank you, Arctic. Appreciate it. Caleb says, they could have even played the song Duel of the Fates during the Palpatine Knights of Ren Sith Worshippers versus Rey and Ben. Dude, that would have been so powerful. Would that not have been so powerful to have, you know, dun 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 dun. Oh man, that would have just added that level of something, you know, to it, that emotion. It would have brought it out of all of us. Even the people I think, you know, who even claim to hate it. I think that would have made a difference. They didn't do it. You know, I don't know that the script for the Trevorrow's script was that much better than what we ended up getting. I know that's debatable because we'll never see it. But to call it Duel of the Fates and then have Duel of the Fates playing at the end, I like it, man. Darth Tasty, good afternoon, sir. I'm going to have to go back and watch this. Yes, Darth Tasty, I am glad that you were able to come in here at least on some of this. Because it's an interesting conversation for sure. It's something that I think that we need to talk about as Star Wars fans and have these kind of discussions. You know, we need to educate ourselves on this thing that we love. Don't curse the darkness. Don't curse the things that you think you don't like. Right? It's easy to say, oh, when I first found out that, you know, Palpatine was a clone, that's stupid. Or is it? Look at Star Wars for what it is. Look through the history of Star Wars, and then let's talk about that. See, here's the difference that you're going to find with the Poindexter Lounge channel as opposed to some other channels. And I'm not putting any other channels down. I'm just saying this is the difference you're going to find here. We're going to have a conversation. We're going to talk about what's going on. And I'm going to give you reasons why I feel the way I feel. And I'm going to listen to you. And if you have a great idea, if you have something that sounds right and you can have that conversation, I'm going to acknowledge that. I'm not going to tell you you're stupid because you liked something in The Rise of Skywalker, or because you understood that Palpatine was a clone and you don't have a problem with that. I'm not going to tell you you're stupid. All right. If you absolutely hate The Last Jedi, and you guys know that I love The Last Jedi, but if you come on here and you say I hate The Last Jedi and here's the reasons why, blah blah blah, or just say it. I don't care. Just say I hate The Last Jedi. I'm not going to tell you you're stupid. Why would you insult people and act like that? It's childish. Childish. And that's the problem that I have with channels like Geeks and Gamers and these other people, because they're just childish. They make no sense. The one guy on there, he's got, is it RC Outpost or whatever? He's in my video too. I took an excerpt from him. The guy looks like he's about ready to have an aneurysm over the fact that his books in the EU are no longer canon. They weren't canon to begin with. And he's literally the skinny little guy sitting there getting ready to just like explode out of the top of his head. He looks like one of the Camino cloner guys, you know, and he literally looks like he's about ready to just pop a blood vessel because Kathleen Kennedy, the evil Kathleen Kennedy, didn't, you know, convert his books that he is, you know, his books, comics, stories, whatever, into the new movies. Dude, look, I'm the biggest nerd on the planet. After I get done with this, I need to like literally make 2 videos about some toys, okay, that you're going to see. I'm the biggest nerd on the planet, and yet you're not going to see me like literally whining and complaining about everything that I don't like, because there's lots of stuff that I don't like. But I choose to focus on some positivity and to have a good time. Why would you just want to sit around and have a bad time about everything? let's have a good time, man. Let's talk about the stuff that we love and not you know, yell at Kathleen Kennedy. Kathleen Kennedy doesn't care about that. You know, and it's not because she doesn't care about the fans. It's because you're stupid. I will say that's stupid. Because if you're just going to sit around and gripe and complain and yell at people that you've never met, that you don't know anything about personally, and you're going to demonize people who are making the things that you say you love, you know, I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. Caleb says Revenge of the Sith novelization is really cool. I'll agree with that because I've heard people say that. I haven't read it myself, so I'll take your word for it. Darth Tasty says I agree with you. The title it didn't fit the movie. Caleb says the Vader armor scene alone is so much more emotional in the novel. I have heard that, Caleb, and that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier with. That Palpatine has a reason for everything he does. And I do know, because I have read excerpts, like I said. I haven't read the whole novelization. I actually have Revenge of the Sith. I just realized now, because a friend of mine loaned me Revenge of the Sith years ago. And then apparently he got another copy and he told me I could keep it. So I actually have Revenge of the Sith. Maybe I should read that, because it's on my shelf right now. I have the hardcover copy of Revenge of the Sith. So, all right, Caleb. On your suggestion, I will read the novelization, because I've heard that scene is just awesome because of the fact that Palpatine wanted to punish Vader and put him basically through a living hell, even in keeping him alive. Let's see. The title should have been different. Definitely didn't fit the movie. Colin knew what he was doing, but oh well, we got The Rise of Skywalker instead. Yeah, and we can only go with what, you know, with what we got. You know, decisions were made. It is what it is. We're fans, so I mean, unless we're going to go out and do it ourselves, it is what it is. It is strange indeed. Caleb says, I don't know why human cloning is illegal. It's not technically the same person. Genetically, yes. It's soul, no. Yeah, I don't know, man. You know, isn't that weird that we live in a world where that's real? Where, like, literally people can be cloned? And you know, like, this is a whole other conspiracy thing, like, I know. You know that there's a human clone out there somewhere, right? There's no way that technology exists and it is as prevalent as it is and that it hasn't happened. I'm just saying, we may not know about it, but it's happened. I'm sure it's happened. They're cloning sheep, they're cloning dogs, they're cloning cats, they're cloning everything else. There's somebody walking around there, and I'd be interested to know, like, what that person's like. What is their... We don't know, like, what kind of mental toll or not does it take? I mean, are they just normal? Or do they just live a normal life? Or what? That would be very, very interesting to see and to experience. There's a lot of things I don't know why they're illegal, but, you know, that's kind of an ethics thing. I don't know. I mean, you know, like, why would you clone somebody of yourself? You know, I don't know. Matt Smith was cast as young Palpatine and it was cut. It would have been cool to see a younger version of Palpatine. Rey Skywalker, unacceptable. That's fine, Yova. You know, the Matt Smith thing, I have heard so many different things about the Matt Smith thing that I don't even know what to make of that anymore, to be honest with you. It could be that he was cast and it was cut. So far, I haven't seen anything concrete that says he was. There's a lot of speculation, and there's a lot of anecdotal evidence that he was. But, you know, I'm sure we'll find out one day what the truth is in that. Or we already know the truth and that he wasn't, right? But, you know, the Rey Skywalker thing, it's a little weird. It's a little strange. She wants to renounce her Palpatine affiliation. And, you know, it's kind of the ultimate... last nail in the coffin to the Palpatine lineage, I guess, you know. So that's fine, but it's kind of weird how you get there, and I don't think there's enough emotional attachment to Luke for her to do that at the end. I get it, but I don't get it all in the same breath. Does that make sense? Like, I get it, but I don't get it all at the same time. Because I don't think that she has enough attachment to Luke, or, you know, I mean, she's trained by Leia, I guess, but even that, I mean, Leia was never really a Skywalker. She was never called Skywalker, I should say. She was from that family, but she was never called Skywalker. So I don't quite understand why they went that way. Darth Tate says, do you have the book, Caleb? I haven't heard anything about the armor scene being more emotional. I have heard that, Darth Tate. The Rey Skywalker thing didn't really bother me, Yova. It doesn't bother me. It's just one of those things I get it, but like I said, I don't get it. I love the comic series based on the first draft of Star Wars, General Luke Skywalker, Anakin Starkiller, Lizard Han Solo. Yeah, that's some cool stuff for sure. That's going way back. Darth Tasty says, I know that a lot of people wanted her to be Obi-Wan's daughter, but he would have been 72 when he had her. I actually just saw a video that talked about this the other day. Yeah, and I even saw stuff that talked about her being, Obi-Wan's granddaughter, which I think would have also made sense a little bit. But, like, why was she put into hiding then? Right? Being Palpatine's granddaughter, you could see why she'd be put into hiding by a cloned son who knows what his father's all about and wants to protect his Force-sensitive daughter, because he knows that the only reason he's living and he's living the life that he's living is because he wasn't Force-sensitive. That makes sense to me. Where are we at? I don't love The Last Jedi, says Arctic Conquest, but I do like it. I just felt the story, excluding Rey's part, felt like an episode of Clone Wars. That's an interesting take. And I don't hate you, Arctic Conquest, and I'm not going to call you stupid, because I like you. Before the premiere, and you don't have to love everything that I love. It's all good. Before the premiere, the only thing I wanted to see was Anakin, Force Ghost, in flesh, anything. I really wanted a scene between Kylo and Anakin's Force Ghost. Me too. Me too. I don't know why they didn't do that. I don't know why at the end they didn't show the Jedi who voiced what they voiced behind her, supporting her and pushing her to do what she did at the end and defeat the Emperor. They allude to that's what happened because you hear all the voices, but it would have made so much more sense to me if they would have showed that in spirit form, because you had the Sith Eternal backing up Palpatine. It would have been so cool to back up Rey with a spiritual representation of the Jedi. Also, I will notice this: upon watching it this second time, I've heard a lot of people complain that Palpatine killed himself with his own Force energy. I don't think so. I'm gonna have to watch it a third time when it comes out on Blu-ray and like speed it down. But I watched that scene very, very closely because I thought that was one of the stupid things. Also, that he killed himself with Force lightning when he zapped himself so many times with Force lightning. It's not funny. That's not what happened. He stopped shooting Force lightning, and she kept pummeling him with Force lightning. They set up the fact that she was able to shoot it out herself. So I don't buy the fact that he killed himself with Force lightning, because he stopped. If you watch it, and I watched it, he stops. Let's see. Speedo Kagan goes on to say, but when I saw the scene between Ben and Han, I changed my mind. In my opinion, Ben and Han make more sense. Yeah, the Han thing is weird to me still. I feel like they just put him in there just to put him in there. I feel like that should have been a Carrie Fisher moment. One of two things. Either Carrie Fisher, as she passed, Princess Leia, as she passed, to go to her son and talk to her son, or it should have been Luke. And here's why. Luke, one of the things that I was looking forward to in The Rise of Skywalker, and apparently was a thing in Kevin Trevorrow's script, was Luke was pestering Kylo Ren. Because he says in The Last Jedi, I'll see you around, kid. I'll be seeing you, or whatever. That would have been phenomenal to see. Just Luke just showing up and just tormenting Kylo, or just telling Kylo, like reminding Kylo of the mistakes that he was making. That would have been awesome. And so in that moment that Kylo sensed his mom was dead, It would have been really great for Luke to show up and have that conversation with him as his former master, and watch him turn to the light side. The Han thing doesn't make sense to me because he's not really there, so it's a memory, and he even says that, and it's just kind of weird, you know, because like, why would Han be there? Why would it be any? I understand the difference between the Force Awakens and that conversation and stuff like that, but I don't know. I just feel like the Han thing doesn't make sense to me, you know. But Speedo Kagan goes on. I didn't see the rest of the comment. He says Han was Ben's father. Ben had probably heard of Anakin, his grandfather, but he never knew him. But he thought he was talking to him, remember. He knew a lot about Vader because he wanted to be Vader. He wanted to be another Vader. That was his whole purpose in life. And he thought that he was talking to his grandfather when in fact it was Palpatine the whole time in his ear. That's the point. Han always was Ben's family. He was his family much more than Anakin. Yeah, but he was estranged. And that's the other thing is Ben did not have a good relationship with Han. We see that through the movies, through everything that Ben says when he's talking to Rey and he's reading her mind, and he says you're thinking of Han Solo and you think that he's like the father you never had. He would have disappointed you. That's Ben Solo. Ben had a problem with his dad for sure. So I don't know how close they were to be able to have that kind of conversation. If they had included Anakin for the beginning of the sequel trilogy, I totally get it, but now I'm okay with him just being as a Force ghost. Yeah, I just wish that they would have had him as a Force ghost to basically undo the fact that Palpatine was talking to him as Anakin that whole time, as Darth Vader, and have, you know, because he's got the helmet there, and he's like, you know, show me the dark side, grandfather, you know, show me again so that I can do this. If you would have had Anakin come in and saying, you know, Ben, this is the true way. This is the way of the Jedi. You know, something like that. I don't know. Rey Kenobi would have been way awesome to see. I agree. I would have liked her as a Kenobi, but I don't know that it fits even for that. Rey could have been a Kenobi, says Darth Tasty. I could not have been a Kenobi. She was 70. He was 72 when she was born. It's like the Skywalkers died and Palpatine won. But the Skywalker name continues, right? So you kind of got to flip that. I get what you're saying, but they all died. The whole generation died out, except for Chewie. And the Skywalker name continues. So she would have had to have been his granddaughter. That's true, Darth Tasty. Darth Tasty, it's what I had in mind, a theory. There's actually a really cool video that I just watched last night that talked about all kinds of interesting things of the ages of characters. Yova says, Obi-Wan's granddaughter, yes. Yova says, Poindexter, what if Rey's mother is a Kenobi? That's a possibility. That would be an interesting twist, actually, is if you found out that Palpatine's son was somehow connected with a woman who came from some kind of thing with Obi-Wan. Then she would be both Palpatine and Obi-Wan Kenobi's granddaughter. What do you think of that? There's a theory for you, right? Yes, Darth Tathy, the name was Yova. That's okay though. We all get things mixed up here. Caleb says, I'm going to send you an excerpt from Revenge of the Sith audiobook on Facebook, Enosh. I mashed up the audiobook and the movie scene. It's great. Awesome. Yeah, send that to me. It's technically a force manipulation by Leia. As soon as Han disappears, Leia's body disappears and she dies. Yeah, I know. I've seen that, and I've gathered as much. I just would have liked to have seen it played out a little bit different. But I understand that they couldn't use Leia because obviously Carrie Fisher was no longer with us, and you can't do that. So I understand why they used Han. This goes back to personal preference, right? It's all personal preference. There's always going to be something that you go, that's fine, but I wish that it would have been this way, right? Here's the difference between me, though, and some other people. When I say that, it's like, yeah, I wish that it was, you know, Luke, or I wish it had been Leia, but it was Han. Okay. It is what it is. You know, I'm not going to make a ton of videos here like blasting the movie and saying, you're stupid if you like the fact that if you believe that Han Solo would have that conversation with his son, you're stupid. Nope. Not going to do it. Let's see. Supposedly in the book, though, they're going to say that Han was a Force ghost. I'm not sure if it's true, but that's what I heard. If they say that, that's dumb. Look, I'll put it the way it is. If they say that Han was actually a Force ghost, that now will go against all that we know about it. Not to say that we can't learn new things. I don't know if they're going to say that, you know, I mean, but Han didn't show up at the end with Luke and Leia. So if he's a Force ghost and he's able to do that, wouldn't he have showed up at the end with Luke and Leia, where with Rey? So I don't know that I believe that. I'll have to wait and see that, Darth Tasty. If they do that, then I will address that, because that, even saying that Leia pulled some kind of manipulation or whatever, how could Leia do it for somebody else just because it's Han, just because it's her husband? She's able to bring him back into the netherworld. Or do things change after all this? I don't know. But I really hope that they don't say that. I really hope that they don't say that. Speedo Kagan. Oh, here, that's Magnus. Dude, okay, so this whole time, dude, I've been talking to you, and I did not realize, and I think you told me this before, Magnus, I am so sorry, man. Magnus is awesome. Speedo Kagan, I want to give a shout out to Speedo Kagan real quick. That is the guy who created our logo. I'm gonna actually do. I'm gonna try to schedule a time to actually have him here on the channel. He designed the logo, the Poindexter Lounge logo, and our intro and our outro and stuff that we have. He did all that. He worked on Star Wars Theory's Shards of was it Shards of the Past, the Darth Vader thing, which is awesome. But he did some work for Star Wars Theory on that. Dude, Magnus, you are awesome, man. I love you, bro. Thank you so much, man. I'm always so glad to have you here on the channel. And I totally forgot what your screen name was. So thank you for putting your name at the end, because, dude, you are awesome, and I appreciate everything that you've done for us. You really gave us. You brought us up a level. When I look back at like our intros before, and and the outros and everything that we did before, you totally brought us up to another level, and I appreciate you for that, man. You are great. Let's see. Supposedly in the book, though, they're going to say Han was a Force ghost. Oh, he just needed that final push to the light. I have to go now. Talk later, Magnus. I hope I caught him, but if I didn't catch him, I will know next time for Magnus, because I want to make sure that he knows how much I appreciate him. Darth Tasty says that to me would make sense. I would have to evade Leia somehow, like you said. Yova says, yeah. Arctic Conquest says, I'm back. Sorry about that. Was making coffee and rewatched the Rey versus Palpatine. Nice. Nothing wrong with a good cup of coffee. Nice. Caleb says, why not? They hinted in the Solo that he had some control over the Force, however small. That might be a reach, like Darth Jar Jar, but he's always waving his hands whenever something goes his way. Yeah, I like my Han Solo just being a regular dude. I do. I like my Han Solo being a regular guy who just makes his way through the world. Even, everybody doesn't have to be Force sensitive. I get what you're saying, but even then, even if he is a little Force sensitive, are we going to say that every Force sensitive person now gets to go and be a Force ghost? Because I don't think that's how it works. I mean, it can always change, and it's always evolving, but I don't think that's how it works. I think you have to know what you're doing, to be able to move on to the next level. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the more revelations we get from this novelization. But to just kind of bring this down and kind of bring this live stream to a close, I like the idea that Palpatine's son did not come from just a natural type of deal. I like the fact that he's a clone. I do. I think it's fine. I don't see a problem with that. I don't have a problem with Palpatine being a clone at the end, and I don't have a problem with that, with his son being a clone. So that's where I'm at with it, you know, when it comes down to it. I just saw Caleb's Anakin randomly became a Force ghost and he didn't have the training. Yeah, you're right. You're right. What's up, Ranjit? Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. I think it just might be a personal thing. I just don't want that. But if that's the case, I guess, you know, we would do what we needed to do. You know, and just accept it. If that is the case, I just don't see Han Solo having the Force abilities to be able to do it. But again, other possibilities could open up, right? You know, and we'll have to wait and see what they decide to do, because we just don't know. Gavin says, I will see you tomorrow for Flash. Also, Batwoman has been great. I love Alice. Darth Tasty says, I love Shards of the Past. Speedo, you guys did a great job. I'm looking forward to part 2. Me too. I'm looking forward to that too. Well, guys, we've been in here a little over an hour, about an hour and a half, or about an hour and 15 minutes, I should say. And I just always enjoy talking with you guys. I wanted to do a live stream today. Just kind of wanted to talk about this because we love Star Wars, right? And I know, Caleb, and it's very romantic to say there's somewhere out there, Han and Leia are with Luke. They'll all be together somewhere out there, out where dreams come true. And even though I know how very far apart we are, it helps to think we might be wishing on the same bright star. And when the night winds start to sing their lonesome lullaby, it helps to know somewhere that Palpatine has still been fried. Somewhere out there. I hope Luke, Leia, and Han all found themselves together out in the netherworld, and that they are together somewhere, somehow. All right, guys. Well, we will be starting tomorrow pretty much at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when we usually start the Flash. That's when it comes on here. So we will see you then. We try to start a couple minutes early, and we should be able to do that. That's right. Hashtag I love Star Wars. If you haven't already, run over to Facebook and find Darth Tasty's page, hashtag I love Star Wars, and ask to be a part of that group. It's a great group. It's a great name, too. Great name. Love the name of that. So thank you guys for joining me today. May the Force be with you. And hey, if you want a son, I guess you can just clone yourself, right? Simple as that. All right, guys, until next time, I'm Enash. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.